Hey guys, I'm John Setzler. Welcome back to the Kamado Joe cooking channel. Today we're going to start on a video that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I'm just going to call this the pizza video. We're not going to talk about specific recipes or anything, but what I want to do is spend a little bit of time showing you how to cook pizzas properly on your Kamado Joe. One of the great things about the Kamado Joe is its ability to cook pizzas. And when I surf the internet, looking at social media, I see a lot of people cooking pizzas. And I also notice that pizza cooks are one of the higher percentage failures that I see where people have difficulty. So what I want to do in this video is I'm going to spend some time showing you how to do this and the various methods that you can use for the various types of pizza to keep you from ever having a failure. I'm going to show you how to set up your grill. I'm going to show you some extra items that you might want to have on hand for doing pizza. And then we're going to look at several different types of pizza. We're going to start with what I call a take and bake pizza that you buy at the grocery store. How to cook that on your Kamado Joe. I'm going to teach you how to cook a pizza from scratch where you have purchased the dough from the grocery store, and I'm going to show you how to cook a pizza from scratch where you've made the dough yourself. There's a little different technique involved in all of these. So after you've seen this video, you should have no problems, and I'm going to show you a lot of things here. So this video is going to run a little longer than some, so let's get started. Okay, the first thing I want to do is I want to show you how to set your grill up. When you're going to cook pizza, you typically want to start out with a fairly full firebox because we're going to build a very hot fire. We're going to be cooking at temperatures that start at 500 degrees in the dome. So what we're going to do, you're going to set your divide and conquer flexible cooking rack in place, and you're going to set either your accessory rack or your grill grates in the top position. And this is a perfect opportunity for you to clean your grates. You don't have to do anything. You can put these on here, and when you're done with the pizza, they're going to come off and they're going to be burned clean. So the next thing we want to do is either on the accessory rack or on the grill is you want to set both halves of your heat deflector at this level. We're going to keep these up high, that way the heat is able to come out and come around this and not be held down low in the firebox. The next thing we need to do is create some space between our heat deflectors, and we're going to put our pizza stone on here as well, but we want an air gap between those. And for my testing purposes, I have come up with spacers. You need to create 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches of space between your pizza stone at this level and your heat deflector. And I found these are black iron pipe plugs that I found at the hardware store. They were about $1.25 a piece maybe, and this particular one's designed for the 1-inch pipe. So when you stand this on end, it gives you exactly 1.25 inches of space. And when you set your pizza stone on top of that, you've got a nice air gap. And what this air gap does is it keeps the pizza stone from overheating. Whenever you have 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches air gap between the deflectors and the stone, your pizza stone temperature is going to be approximately the same as your dome temperature, and that makes things a lot easier here, because if you don't use this and if you just set your pizza stone here on the grill, the pizza stone will get hot, but it will continue to get hotter. It will get ultimately a lot hotter than your dome temperature, and that's what's causing scorched pizza crust. So the other thing that you can do that I don't recommend is setting the pizza stone directly on top. I used to like this technique. The problem with it is this does keep the pizza stone from getting too hot, but if you're cooking multiple pizzas, this stone will continue to get hotter and hotter as you go, and 2 pizzas in or 3 pizzas in, you may be scorching your stone. So like I said, find something that's fireproof that will give you 1.25 to 1.5 inch of gap between these two. And this is how we're going to set up for all of our pizza cooks. It doesn't matter what kind of pizza we're cooking, this is going to be the setup. So the first thing I want to do to begin this process is start with a take and bake pizza. So what I will do is I will light up the grill and I will bring the temperature in the dome up to somewhere between 500 and 550 degrees. Okay, I've decided to preheat the Kamado Joe Classic to 400 degrees roughly, because the take and bake pizza that we're going to cook here first, the instructions on the package say very specifically to cook that pizza at 400 degrees for 17 to 19 minutes. And there is absolutely no reason that we should not follow those instructions. Cooking that pizza any hotter than that is not going to benefit it any. So the first thing you want to do for a take and bake pizza is follow the instructions. So you want to preheat your grill. You need to fire your grill up early, at least an hour or maybe even 90 minutes early, because you want it stable at 400 degrees, which means it's been sitting here at 400 degrees for at least 15 or 20 minutes without you having the lid open or having to make any vent adjustments. Another nice tool to have in your pizza baking arsenal is an infrared thermometer, and this is a relatively inexpensive one that I picked up from ThermalWorks. And the reason these are nice to have is because you can use them to determine the temperature of your pizza stone. So as you can see, I'm fairly stable here at 400 degrees. So let's see where our pizza stone is. I'm going to take a reading here, and it's reading at 419 420 right in the center of the stone, which is right where we need it to be. It doesn't matter that it's 15 or 20 degrees off. That's not going to make any difference. So I'm going to close the lid back and we'll restabilize here at 400, and we'll be back to put the pizza on. Okay, we're going to pop the lid and we are going to put our take and bake pizza right on the stone. And it says on the instructions 17 to 19 minutes, so we'll be back. Okay guys, we've been going right at about 17 minutes, which was the prescribed time for this pizza, and it looks perfect. And that's another thing you have to do when you're cooking pizza. It's got to look right. So this one's kind of bowed up a little bit, but that's kind of the nature of a take and bake pizza sometimes. So we're going to pull this off and take it inside and have a look. Okay, I've brought this back in and cut it apart, and we'll have a look here. See if I can flip that guy over. You can see the crust here is perfect. There's no problems with the crust. Let's have a look at a crust from the other side, opposite side of the pizza. Same situation. It's cooked evenly all the way across. No problems here at all following the instructions provided on the packaging. And once again, you're going to want to do that. You're not going to want to deviate, because this pizza, doesn't matter where it came from, is set up to cook at that temperature. So we're going to leave that here. One of the other things you're going to notice here is I used a wooden pizza peel to put that pizza on the Kamado, and I used a metal one to take it off. We're going to talk about that in the next pizza. And the next pizza that we're going to bake is going to be a scratch-made pizza where we have bought pre-made dough from the grocery store. So let's move on to that. Okay, so moving on, we are going to make a pizza from scratch, and we are going to use dough that I bought in the bakery at Publix. This comes in a plastic bag. It's a 1-pound dough ball, which will make a pretty big pizza, so you could actually make 2 smaller pizzas out of this. And on the back, it gives you some tips on making pizza. And one of the first things it recommends is preheating your oven to 400 degrees. So that's telling me right away that this dough is set up to be good at 400 degrees. As you read through the ingredients on this, it does have sugar and oil in it, so you know right away that this dough is not going to work well at extreme temperatures. So just for fun on this pizza, I'm probably going to set up at 450, just to push it a little bit, and we'll see how that goes. I think it'll be okay at 450. And this dough is also refrigerated. And I got a good tip from a friend who's used this dough before. It tells you on here to take this dough out of the refrigerator and let it warm up for an hour before you try to make it, but I recommend letting it go at least 3 hours, maybe even 4. Take this out early so this dough can relax and it'll be easier to form, and it won't try to compress back in when you shape it into your pizza. Okay, I've got the Big Joe set up just like we set up the Classic for the last cook, except I'm using the accessory rack underneath here today instead of the grill grates, just to show that you can use this either way. I've got both halves of my heat deflectors up top. I've got my spacers here that are giving me 1.25 inches of space between the heat deflector and the pizza stone. So I'm going to let this grill preheat to 450 degrees, and I'm going to let it stabilize there for probably 35-45 minutes before we actually get ready to cook this pizza, because I want this to be completely heat saturated. And we'll take a temperature reading of the stone before we start, just to see where it is as well. Okay, I've got our pizza with the Publix dough put together here, and after I got my dough stretched out, which, just for your information, on this particular dough was quite difficult. I'm going to have a hard time recommending this dough because of that, but it'll work, and we'll talk more about that later. I floured up my pizza peel just with all-purpose flour, transferred my dough to the peel, and I made my pizza on top of the peel. And one of the things you want to check when you're using a dough like this is how easily you're going to be able to transfer from the peel to the pizza stone. So you just pick your peel up and see if you can jiggle the pizza like that. See if it's going to slide on there. If it's not, you may have trouble with it when you get to the grill. So this guy's ready for the grill. Okay, our Big Joe's ready. My dome temperature is about 425 or 430, and it's been sitting there for quite a while. So we're going to check the stone temperature. The stone temperature here in the middle is about 485, which is okay, and it cools off a little bit out toward the edge down to around about 440. So we'll slide our pizza right on here. And we're probably going to cook somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 minutes. We've been going about 15 minutes or so, and I'm going to call this guy ready. It looks real good. I've got a nice crust on it, so we're going to take this off, take it inside, and have a taste. Okay guys, I'll let this pizza cool a little bit, and I've cut it, and let's have a look at the bottom. You know, we've got a really nice cook there. It's perfect. Let's look at one on the other side. Very nice. So this is the Publix pre-made dough that's in a dough ball, and what I was telling you earlier with this pizza, I had a hard time stretching it. The gluten content in that dough is really high, and like I said, I let the dough stay out for almost 4 hours before I tried to stretch it to get it to relax a little bit. Somebody warned me I might have that problem. So when your dough wants to snap back when you're stretching it out, what you have to do is just stretch it and then let it sit for 10 minutes and come back and stretch it some more, and eventually it loosens up. It just takes a little while. But I'm also told that Publix makes that same dough that's pre-rolled, rolled out and ready to go, so you might want to try that. So this will conclude our section on baking with store-bought dough. On our next video, we will make a homemade dough and go through this exact same process again. So we'll be back to see you then. I've put together another pizza. This is made from a homemade dough from scratch. I'm going to stop the video right here and put up a screen where I'm going to give you the recipe and the brief instructions of how to make this dough. Okay, I've got our Kamado Joe Classic warmed up to somewhere between 5 and 550 degrees with the same setup we've been using. So let's take this guy out and cook it. All right, we've got the Classic warmed up. My dome temperature here is right at 550, and my stone temperature, I just checked, and it's right at about 540. So we're going to lift the dome and get this pizza on the stone. And I'll start my timer. We'll see how long it takes to cook. Okay guys, we've been going just right at 10 minutes or so, and I believe this guy's ready. It looks beautiful, so we're gonna yank it off, take it inside and let it cool for a minute, and then we'll have a look. Okay guys, this guy's ready to cut, so we're gonna cut it into pieces and then have a look. I usually like to cut pizzas this size into about 6. And we'll do like we've been doing. We'll have a look at the bottom crust. It's perfectly cooked. No problems there whatsoever. And one from the opposite side looks just as good. So that's going to cover our basic homemade pizza dough. Real easy to make, real cheap to make also. And there's a lot of things you can do with this, and at the end of this video I'll try to talk about some enhanced techniques on the recipe. So now that this one's done, what we've got to do is go to the extremely high temperature cook. So we will go to that high temperature Neapolitan style pizza next. Here we are at the final stage of this process. I've got another pizza put together here, and we're going to cook this one at a really high temperature. And this is the same pizza recipe, or same pizza crust recipe, that we used in the previous homemade pizza dough, but there's less water in it. I'll pop that screen back up here in a second. If you'll look at the numbers in red, that's the only thing that's changed. The water content of the dough is all that's changed. So let's go get our grill going. Okay, I've had the classic lit up here for a little while, and I've got the bottom vent fully open and the top vent just fully off of the grill, and I'm a little over 825 degrees or so. Like I said, I've just got the top vent completely off, and I'm gonna try to let it go for a little while longer, see if we can get up close to 900 and let it stay there for just a couple of minutes, because that's where you would normally cook a Neapolitan style pizza, which is close to what we have here. So we're gonna give the grill just a few more minutes to warm up before we put the pizza on. Okay, we're up to temp. We're running about 925 in the dome, and our stone temp is up to 900. So I'm going to slowly open this, burp it a little bit. We're going to slide our pizza right on here and give it about 2 minutes. Okay, we've been going about a minute, so I'm going to crack this open a little bit, and we're going to give it a quick turn and give it another minute or so. Okay, we are just approaching the 2-minute mark here, so this pizza is ready to come off. We're going to yank it off of there and take it in and have a look. Okay, this pizza's done and it's ready to cut, and you see we've got some of that nice leoparding that you look for on this type of pizza. That's one of the characteristics of this. And we set up the exact same way, you know, with our spacers, our 1 1/4 to 1.5 inch spacers, to keep the pizza stone from going ballistic with us. But everything's ballistic on a cook like this, so we're gonna cut this so I can show you what the bottom of this crust looks like. This pizza is going to be fantastic. There should be a little charring on the bottom of this crust, but it should not be burned. So there we have it. Let's have a look at the same piece on the other side. Look at that. That's absolutely perfect. So that's how you take care of the high temperature pizza. And since this is dinner, I'm going to stop here. We're going to eat this pizza, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to wrap this video up. I'm going to talk about the bullet points of the points that we're trying to make with this video, and try to clear up anything that might not be clear. Okay, we have demonstrated the 4 basic types of pizza cooks that you can do on the Kamado grill. We started out with a take and bake, and then we went to a store-bought dough where we added our own toppings. Then we went to a simple scratch dough for a standard temperature cook, and then we went to a modified scratch dough for the Neapolitan, the extremely high temperature cook. So we've covered most of the bases that you'd ever come across. The bullet points that you need to take away from this video are, the first thing is how we set up our heat deflector and our pizza stone. That heat deflector needs to be at the top level of the grill, not in the middle or not at the low position on the divide and conquer rack. You want that up high. You want 1 1/4 to 1.5 inch spacers of some sort to set on those heat deflectors, and then set your pizza stone on top of that. And the reason for that is that allows your stone temperature to stabilize at about the same temperature as the dome. That way you don't have to worry about the stone getting too hot where your pizza is going to scorch at your given dome temperature. So the next thing is after you have that set up, when you bring your grill up to temperature, you want to let it stabilize there for 20 to 30 minutes before you put your pizza on. That way the stone can be up to temperature where it'll be hot enough to do everything you need to do. So that's the setup, and like I said, the take and bake pizzas, you need to follow the temperature instructions on the packaging. If you go hot on a take and bake pizza, you're going to ruin it, and that's one of the most common failures we see here, is over or too much temperature for that type of pizza. There's a myth out there that I'm not really sure how it got started, but the myth is that the hotter you cook the pizza, the better it is. Well, that is only true if your pizza is designed to handle that kind of heat. So with the take and bake, you've got to follow the instructions on the box. If you are using store-bought pizza dough, like the Publix pizza dough that we used, you need to follow the instructions that come along with it also, because it is geared for whatever temperature they're telling you to cook at. It's going to have the proper water content, and it's got oils and sugars in it that can't handle high temperatures either. So the homemade pizza doughs that we made two different variations of the same dough. The 500 to 550 degree dough is a 70% hydration. It's got more water in it, and the reason it has more water in it is because it's going to be on the grill for a longer time, and it just helps keep the dough from burning over that longer cook. And you can put a little bit more on your pizza topping wise, because you're going to be cooking from 12 to 18 minutes or so, depending on what type of pizza you're making. The Neapolitan pizza that we just finished up was a lower hydration dough. It was only 60% instead of 70%, and it can handle the high temperature. Let's see if I can explain this easily. It's got less water in it, but it's going to be on the grill for a shorter amount of time. That 70% dough that we made, you can also cook the 70% dough at 900 degrees. The difference you're going to see when you cook that dough at 900 degrees is it's not going to brown up nicely. It's not going to char and give us that little leoparding and the caramelization that we like to see on the crust on that style of pizza, because of the extra water content. So you can do it either way. You can cook that 70% dough at 900 degrees if you want to, but you cannot do the opposite. You cannot take the 60% dough and cook it at 500 or 550 for 15 or 18 minutes, because it doesn't have enough water in it to support a cook that long, and it will burn. It's kind of funny. So I hope this has been useful. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time because I love pizza from the Kamado Joe. It's a beautiful pizza oven, but I keep seeing everybody wants to try it, and I keep seeing a lot of burnt pizzas. So I wanted to make this video to show you how to never ever mess up another pizza. So give some of these guys a try. Let me know what you think. Join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Kamado Joe. Follow us on Twitter @Kamado Joe. And until next time, this is John Setzler with the Kamado Joe Pizza Channel.